Hi, everybody. So, in this episode of Bewildered, Ro and I are going to talk about our constant stumbling through the world as a pilgrimage, as a consecrated way of moving through our experience that changes us more than we will ever change it.
Yeah, and like so qualities of a pilgrim's life are like, traveling light and letting ourselves be led even when we don't really understand the source of the guidance, and sort of treating the path as sacred, and letting it write the story of us, rather than sort of putting ourselves at the center and we're the author and we're the owner of everything that happens to us. So I hope you'll take a listen.
Enjoy. Hi, I'm Martha Beck.
And I'm Rowan Mangan, and this is another episode of Bewildered, the podcast for people who are trying to figure it out.
Figuring it out. Trying.
Keyword.
Sometimes feeling like it's going well. Mostly not.
Yeah. But it's the trying that's the point, isn't it?
That really is the point. And what are you trying to figure out these days?
I'm glad you asked. Not
Thank
just
you.
because it's part of the contrivance of this show that we always ask each other this at the beginning.
No,
but
it was totally spontaneous. Never even would have thought of it.
what I'm trying to figure out is how to get comfortable with the absolute unforeseeable nature of the next catastrophe in parenting.
Oh.
You can never predict. I mean, you can predict a lot of the catastrophes, like minute to minute. I can like watch our 4-year-old and watch her brain dreaming up mischief in real time. But then there's the things that you would never think of. And I had a really interesting one about a week ago. So as regular listeners might know, I have a little happy place that I go when things get hard, and it's a farm. It's a farm where I grow crops, I keep animals. It lives in my little Nintendo Switch. It's called Stardew Valley.
Stodgy Valley. That's how Australians say Stardew Valley.
Anyway, I promised myself I wasn't going to say the name of it until they decided to become sponsors. But anyway, there it is, Stodgy Valley.
They have not. They have not decided to become sponsors.
Alas.
We're open to it.
Yeah, so, and Lila doesn't want her own, well, she has her own farm, right? She has her own farm, but like she's 4, so her farm sucks, and I'm 44, and my farm is amazing. Look, I'm just going to say it. The time for false humility is past.
A good parent never misses a chance to rub the child's nose in how much better the adult can do with the things.
I don't need to, because she's perfectly aware that my farm rocks. So sometimes she's like, can I play your farm? And sometimes if I really just want to get a little bit more sleep in the morning, or I just can't for whatever reason, I'll go, all right, yeah, you can play my farm. Okay. Never thinking that this scenario could come up. And this really did happen, but I really want our listeners to understand it's also such a metaphor for life. Okay. So I go to my farm one day.
Metaphorically.
No, I literally went there.
It's digitally.
Digitally. Okay, yeah, went there digitally. And I was surprised to find I had woken up in my house with my lovely wife, 4 new cats that I hadn't had before. All right. But, okay, I couldn't get out my front door to farm my farm, Marty, because there were 18 scarecrows in my living room, and one of them was directly in front of the front door, so I couldn't get out. No biggie. This is why we have axes.
This is why we have 911, Ro.
Oh, no, I'm afraid there's no telephones in Stardew Valley.
Oh, God.
So,
conundrum.
Look, it was beyond a conundrum. It was an impossible situation. No worries. This is why we have axes. Guess what? My axe wasn't in the house. My axe had been disappeared. And
she took it.
There was literally no way out. because of scarecrows in the living room.
This is very metaphorical. I can't tell you how many people I've coached who are finding scarecrows in their living rooms. Anyway, go on.
Metaphorically, right? You would just never think it. And I never thought it. And I've had to enlist the help of so many people as I try to get back to think of my cows.
Stodgy Valley 911. Cows suffering.
Cows suffering because there are 18 scarecrows in the house. God,
terrifying.
Did not see that coming.
It's a horror movie.
Did not see that coming. And yeah. So I don't think I need to unpack that metaphor any further except to say did not see that coming.
But the suspense is unbearable. And you told me what you eventually did.
Okay, yeah, it was pretty cool.
You became your own farmhand.
I cloned myself as a multiplayer and set myself up as a farmhand, a simple farmhand, living in a cabin on the southwestern side of the farm. He'd been a big city boy, but he'd left to be in a Hallmark movie. Anyway.
I smell romance, yeah.
Unfortunately, I'm already married to a woman and I have 3 cats, so I don't think he's going to have any luck there. So listen, as my clone, I axed my way into the house and dealt with those scarecrows, and then I retired my clone. Bye.
The ethics are very complex.
There's a lot of ethical complexity. Marty, what are you trying to figure out?
Well, you, as it happens, you and your continuous digital presence playing game after game after game. And this is on the New York Times game app that we both do. And like everyone, one of our friends got us onto it, and now we're like crack addicts. We can't stop doing the New York Times puzzles every day. And one of them is called Wordle. A lot of our listeners
Everyone knows what Wordle is.
Everyone knows Wordle. You have like 5 chances to guess a word. And
every day there's a new one. Everyone gets the same word.
Yeah, and it's a secret word. And you type in a 5-letter word. And if a letter is not in the word, it goes gray.
This is so boring.
You can't use it anymore. Then, okay, but if it's in the right place, it goes green. Yeah. But if it's in the word but in the wrong place, it's sort of orangey olive. So this morning, I got up and I did the Wordle, and it was a really hard one. And I was like, wow, that was a tough sled. And Rose said, I got it in 2. Now, for those Wordlers out there, I usually get it in 3 or 4.
Guesses.
But almost never in 2. You have to be either lucky or psychic to get it in 2, right?
Right. I just want to say this was the morning, but because the Wordle comes out in the middle of the night and I'd been up late, I had solved it in the night, which sometimes happens.
Yeah. She was up till like 2 a.m. Mm-hmm. And she wordled sometime after midnight.
Wordle.
And she goes, it was a hard one, and I got it in 2. I rocked. I crushed it.
Oh, my God.
She was so proud.
Best feeling
She had to go off
ever.
and get her phone and bring up the Wordle and show it to me. And it was just like almost all gray letters with a couple of orange ones. Now, it's true there were 2 attempts, but it was nowhere near the solution. And she had fallen asleep doing the Wordle and dreamed that she got it in 2.
Imagine being so lame. Okay. Imagine being a human that is so lame that your happy place is an imaginary farm where you just work all the time.
And then, dream version.
And then you go and you sleep and you dream that you won the Wordle. Oh, my God, Marty.
Oh, my God, we're pathetic.
No, you're fine. So you come out of all this just fine.
I mean, humans, basically.
Oh, humans, yeah.
Because I do those every day without fail. And I feel genuine pride when I get these ridiculous puzzles right. We are such funny little monkeys.
We are.
Like, there are so many problems that we do need to solve. And we're like, no, I think I'm going to look at this word puzzle and then go milk some fake cows for 25 hours. Like, we need to grow up. Or not.
Karen's really funny, our beloved, because she, there's this kind of casual thing that often happens like late afternoon. We start to gather for the evening, the family, and someone without fail will just casually throw out, so did you get the Wordle today?
Don't tell me. Don't tell me. I'm on the last square.
Yeah.
We're like, and two of us will have gotten it. We're like,
Yeah.
You want a hint? No. Yes.
And then the other one is connections, and it's like you have to guess the connection between the words. Everyone knows. Go play it. It's not,
Yeah, go play it.
But Karen will never understand why people are anti-spoiler in anything. She just wants to know what happens. Even in like a sitcom, she's like, it's all right, I read about it. I don't need to watch the episode. I know what happens.
Have you read Moby Dick? Oh, he gets the whale in the end. The whale gets him. Whatever. I'm done.
There was a whale. So without fail, we'll go, did you get the Wordle? Yeah, I got it in 3. Yeah.
Right.
Must be pretty cool. And then Karen, and then someone will go, oh yeah, how about the connections? And Karen will always say, did you get the one that's about football? Did you get the one that's about golf? Did you get the one that's about 40s movie stars? But secretly it's nice because I'm like, oh, I see.
It's one of the things that it's sort of the glue that holds us together. Irrational obsession with fictional games and the uneven and frankly hypocritical way in which we both love and hate each other's peccadillos on digital platforms.
The games aren't fictional. The games are literal.
Peccadilli. It's the plural of peccadillo.
Why does peccadillo sound like the dirtiest word? Like
peckerdildo? You think
oh,
it sounds
dillo.
Like peckerdildo?
Yeah, that's it. It's not very mysterious.
Yeah. Oh, I got that Wordle in 1. Could you see the connections? If Freud did a connections game, every single game would be about penises.
It's funny because pecker also means penis, right?
I know that. That's why I said pecker, because it's peccadillo. But you Australians hear pekka, and it's a pecker to you.
Yeah, it's the same thing.
Because of your language problems.
Cultural dyslexia. Hi there. I'm Ro, and I'll be your podcaster for today. Do you know how to tip your podcaster? It's actually pretty easy. You can rate our pod with lots of stars. All your stars. You can review it with your best superlatives. You can even subscribe or follow Bewildered so you'll never miss an episode. Then, of course, if you're ready to go all in, our paid online community is called Wilder, a sanctuary for the bewildered. And I can honestly say it's one of the few true sanctuaries online. You can go to wildercommunity.com to check it out. Rate, review, subscribe, join, and you all have a great day now. So why don't we move on to our topic of the day, Marty?
Oh, sure. A topic? Why not?
Hey,
let's do it.
Let's just do it.
Yeah.
We always get comments from people going, could you please get to the point? No, we will not be getting to the point. Now we'll get to the point. Okay, so like many of the topics on this podcast, it is inspired by, yeah, you guessed it, our literal lives that we're living right now.
Our total self-obsession.
Yeah, but, yeah.
Everybody does that.
You don't have to listen. It's all right. Yeah. Oh. So we're like on the verge of a big change. Fair to say?
Definitely fair.
Not a...
not the biological kind. But
speak for yourself.
The way we're running our lives right now is dominated by something that looks very strange from the perspective of the dominant culture that we're always talking about. Because when we do things, including making massive upheavals and changes in our physical lives, it's never for logical reasons.
It's completely stupid.
It's completely stupid, and it's because we have like a weird hunch we should do it. And what we always say to each other as a kind of motto is never by logic, always by magic. Because that's how our life has worked.
Yeah. I mean, you could also say never by things making sense, only by things just not making sense. Is how
but making a different kind of sense.
Maybe makes a different kind of sense. That's what we're trying to figure out, I guess. Yeah. So like right now, as a very unusual, neurodivergent, creative family, we are about to move house and move into a sort of different style of living as well. Move to a different part of the country, not a hugely different part, but a bit of a different part. And let's just say some of my farming skills may come in handy.
It's true. She's like drooling over garden porn. She's looking at raised beds and ways of...
Not literal garden porn. Just
No, is there literal garden? I know.
I'm sure there is.
Pictures of people growing incredible, beautiful, abundant gardens and like eating the squash thereof. And she's like abruptly fantasizing about gardening. Yeah. And we have a new podcasting studio. Yeah.
Yes. Oh my God. Let me tell you.
Cool.
It's the coolest. Everything works.
Why are we not in it?
Yeah.
Because we don't know where it is, what it looks like, or whether we will actually have to physically build it before it exists.
Yeah.
But damn, do we love it.
Oh my God. It's the best.
That's
it's
a good
so
studio.
Yeah. It's weird. It's this uncomfortable thing of like, we know we have to do this. Why hasn't it happened yet? What's going on? Like, I see my angel numbers. So, angels?
Right.
Could you...
I got the Wordle in too. That explains it.
That explains it? Wait. Yeah, so I was reminded of this weird limbo feeling that we're in at the moment. I remember when I thought I needed a dog to complete me.
You did.
And this is many years ago when we lived in California, and there was like this weird sense at the time of where's my dog? Like you sort of look around the room, where's my dog? I can't see him anywhere.
Do you know what? I had that same feeling about you for like a couple of years.
Where's my dog?
Yeah. Yeah, I kept trying to scratch your ears. No, it was like, where is she? Where is she? And then I think, what? Who? But it was really, really, it would be like a flicker on the periphery of my attention, but it wouldn't stop. It was and I was like, what the hell? But we felt the same way about the dog.
When there were only one set of footprints, it was then that I was internet stalking you. Doesn't even make any sense. But that's
Jesus was my co-pilot, but we crashed in the mountains and I had to eat it.
Oh,
sorry.
I'm sorry,
If you love Jesus, I love you. You're wonderful. Anyway, this is weird feeling, and it's very strange in the liminal times when you feel like there's an intense need to go into a new stage, but it's not actually come to fruition yet physically. And we were like that when we moved here from the ranch in California, which was so magical and felt so predestined. And then we're like,
time to go.
Now we're going to move to the east seaboard. We don't know why. And we got together with Liz when we came out here.
We didn't get together with Liz in
No, we didn't get together with Liz in that way. We had a get together. Like,
we had coffee.
With dinner. Yeah, we had coffee. And and we were like, oh, we feel bad because we sold our ranch and we don't have any place to live. We don't know what we're doing, where we're going. And she's like, so that's what we do. We jump off cliffs.
Yeah.
Also, we buy high and sell low. Big deal. And, we reminded each other that this is like if you follow the tarot deck, which you will do even if you have 3 Harvard degrees. Drink. When you are in the middle of a liminal state and there's no external evidence showing you're doing the right thing, but you just feel like you have to do it, you will start getting tarot card readings. I've seen it happen to many people. And it started, the sort of spiritual version of the tarot deck starts with a character called the Fool, who is actually the most blessed of all the beings. He is so innocent. He's like moving forward and he's guarded by angels and he is going right off the edge of a cliff while a black cat runs in front of him and windows break on either side and mirrors break and he's walking under a ladder and he's like Mr. Magoo. He just happily goes along.
Hello.
Just
gonna jump off this cliff.
And he's so culturally ignorant, innocent. And because of that, the angels are helping him go on his journey. But his evolution through the stages of the numbered cards show the hero's saga from the innocence of ignorance to the innocence of wisdom. and the hellish path between them.
Yeah. And it's this weird recognition that we seem to be in some sort of karmic destiny to live like this, like to be the fool, to jump off the cliff again and again. Why are you doing that? I don't know. Just felt like it, I guess. So once again, like, here we find ourselves. And like what we were thinking about the other day when we were talking about this podcast is pilgrims. Mm-hmm. What if we just are pilgrims in our nature, and what if you are as well? And what if like being like, what if this is a way of being rather than like a fixed identity? What if it's like an attitude? What if it's a vibe?
Yeah,
Ooh,
yeah.
What if it's how we live?
And by the way, as we're talking about this, just for the Americans in the audience who may have heard things about the Pilgrims in elementary school, as if there were only one group of pilgrims, this is not the puritanical group that sailed in from England or the Netherlands and proceeded to donate smallpox-infected blankets to the indigenous people. Those are not the pilgrims of which we speak. No. Pilgrim is a much older concept and a much broader concept. So it's, on one hand, it's someone who journeys in a foreign land. So stranger in a strange land. You're always going into new places that you have to go, but you don't know anything there. So you're in a constant state of bewilderment and fear, or faith and commitment, or all of the above. And then it's also someone who is walking for reasons of holiness, to a place that is holy, to places that are holy, sacred, because of the search for the sacred that is in the pilgrim's deepest DNA. So it's a kind of devotee of the path to awakening.
Yeah. And I mean, when pilgrims traditionally are kind of defined by the pilgrimage, like the destination that they're heading to, and we're kind of sort of trying to tweak the idea of this a little bit. So like, what if being a pilgrim isn't like a one-off identity during your time on this one-off path? Like, what if our whole lives could be the pilgrimage, and that the each step could be the sacred place or the holy land or whatever?
Right. And if we live this way, what we see, it's kind of a bromide almost. It's not about arriving at the destination. It's about walking the path. But the reason you walk the path is that it changes you. You are changed by the path itself.
Exactly.
Not by the holy destination, not by sort of sacred titles bestowed upon you by an organization. The path itself, your own difficulty. In Buddhism, they say obstacles do not block the path. The obstacles are the path. So when you encounter them, it changes you. And that's why you walk.
That is so cool. It's really cool. So this idea of walking into the unknown, you know, so for us, you know, this sense right now of looking for a house, like there's this spiritual call to land, you know, itself, and it's all wildly uncertain.
But that is something that defines the pilgrimage. It is never certain. And you don't even get to demand clarity. The one thing that's clear is walk, go, travel, move. Aim vaguely for this space. Well, where exactly? You don't get to know that yet. I mean, you drove across the country. You and Karen drove across the country. I flew with Adam. And our arms are killing us. But they did. They drove across. They drove across the country, and we did not have a place to live at all. We were couch surfing like a plague of locusts, and it's not. No matter how many times you do it, it is not fear-free.
No. So here are some of the things we've been thinking about in terms of living as pilgrims, not just right now, but like going forward in general.
Yeah,
like
forever.
Why is this a way of like, this could be a way of looking at life that's like more natural, but even more practical, even within this culture, like it could actually be a more practical way to approach life, this thing we call life.
Yeah, and our culture doesn't acknowledge that to walk into the unknown is advantageous. And in fact, even when I do something like setting up seminars in Africa, because it is completely unknown and there is no system and I have no idea whether it'll work or not, and then it works, people say, oh, obviously you did that thing. You knew this because blah, blah, blah. And no, I did not know it because blah, blah, blah. Blah, blah, blah happened because I didn't know what I was doing and I kept going anyway.
Yeah, you stepped into
the not knowing is the perpetual state of being changed by the path.
Yeah.
Never knowing. And in our culture, you're supposed to know.
So just that willingness to walk into the unknown is a like a pilgrim quality. And I think, another one that really resonates for me is this idea of kind of traveling light, like unburdened or intentionally light. Pilgrims can only carry they have to be able to carry everything they need, right? And so there's literalism there that appeals to me, but also the metaphor, of course, is that you're shedding ego and roles as well as possessions as you move on this path to the unknown.
And yet when your axe is gone, when you've shed that possession and you can't hack your way through the scarecrows in your kitchen, your front door, it's still very troubling for you, as we've just heard.
But you know what? If I was on the path, I could just step around the scarecrow. My problem was the house. I needed to unburden myself of the house, the wife, the 3 cats, the tortoise, which I didn't even tell you about earlier.
You were hoping to spare me the horror.
I have a pet tortoise on my farm.
Oh, my God. I remember when I was packing to go on my long walk in England. I joined a group of 10 people. We walked through the Cotswolds in England for about a week on like an 85-mile path. I didn't walk one day, but I walked almost the whole way.
How many miles did you walk, Marty?
I walked 75 miles in 6 days, according to my watch, which went, by the way, was missing power one day and didn't even count it. So there, just add that. Sorry, but I'm like getting my backpack ready, and you just carry a day pack, and I'm packing this pack
before she left,
and before I left, and Ro comes in and she's like, "Why are you carrying a whole toothbrush? That thing is heavy." And I'm like, "It's a toothbrush. How heavy can it be?" And she starts going through my stuff. Okay, this journal can't go with you. See this? No, you absolutely cannot have a flashlight. Umbrella, why would you bother? Like, she was just, she was ruthlessly parsing my possessions because she has traveled with a backpack for weeks on end.
Months,
and knows what it's like. And I was so grateful because the only day I was tired was when I took too much in my day pack. And oof.
Dude, I was in India for more than 3 months with a backpack, and it's like, it's India as well, and you're 25 and you're broke, and you in this story is me, and so you have to have the randomest stuff, and like all my prep for this trip was what to pack, and it was all like gaffer tape wrapped around a pencil because you need to be able to keep your mosquito net up. And so, yeah.
But you can't take a whole roll of gaffer tape because it's too heavy.
It's too heavy, and it's more than you need, but it's also cumbersome, bulky and makes it very hard for you to pack. It's got to be.
Right.
So, yes, I do. I fancy myself a bit of a backpacking.
You did me proud, I'll tell you. And for the journey to teach you, you have to denude yourself of like your navigational equipment even. You don't carry a lot of maps and charts and compasses and everything. I mean, I had a little compass in my phone. I had a lot of things in my phone.
I've heard certain people say that there's such a thing as an inner compass. Have you ever heard that?
Oh, no, that's bullshit. Yeah.
It's just, sorry.
It's just my whole career, people. Read up on it. But what happens is you start noticing things that are not by logic, but by magic.
Right.
You start to feel drawn to a certain place on the path. You start to feel a kind of itch to stop and look around, and you realize you've lost the path. And we had to find our way through England by one guy was always looking at his phone. Thank God for Craig. But there were these tiny little signs, like the size of a playing card, like tacked to some of the trees and fences, and they'd be miles apart. And that's how we were supposed to find our way. And so you start like paying attention to the wind, to the animals, to the strangers. What is guiding you? What is telling you to go there? Where do you feel a kind of warmth going down a path? And where does it feel like, no, I need to check? Because you start getting very subtle messages, and you start to realize they're real. And that's part of the holiness of it, is you start to realize the guidance you're getting in very woo-woo ways is real.
Right. It's like there's a willingness to be led. Like I'm going to be in a state in which I can be led by my own intuition.
Yeah. And you can get much more woo-woo than our culture does. But I have, when I've been out with people tracking in the North American forests, or even more in South Africa, I've watched what looks like magic. People stopping suddenly, doubling back half a mile, turning left, and finding exactly the animal they're looking for.
Yeah.
And not really, like when we, at that ranch in California, there was a day when Karen had to chase her horrifying golden retriever, Bjorn, the worst golden retriever ever made. He would always run off.
The only golden retriever in the history of the world who was not a perfect angel.
He was not an affectionate dog. He was not a dog who cared. And he went huffing and puffing up this hill. And she was like, Bjorn, he'll get eaten by coyotes. So she drove this little tractor thing up a hill. She drove it up a hill, ran over the main water line, severed it, and sent this geyser of water just squirting 80 feet in the air. And she came driving back. Once she found Bjorn, who was still headed for the high country, she came back screaming, water, what have I done? Water. So I had to run up the hill, which was a very steep one, and turn off the water on the main water tank. And then we came back. We had to get someone to fix the leak. Now, the line was 6 feet under the ground, the pipe that had broken.
Oh, I know where this story's going now. Got it.
Yeah, you were like, why? Well, this wonderful neighbor that we had, just absolute salt of the earth, beloved friend, the most pragmatic farmer dude you could ever find outside of Stodgy Valley itself. He came over and he found the break in the pipe. How? He doused it. He took 2 sticks. Or one stick that is forked, and he walked over the earth until the tip of the branch bent down. He found it by magic, not by logic. But it worked. It freaking worked.
Magic's only not logical because we decide it's not logical.
We don't give it a chance. Even when people do give it a chance, there's this great evidence for a lot of so-called psi phenomena that are not materially explicable.
Yeah.
And scientists just go, oh, pay no attention, turn away, it never happened. Yeah. But a pilgrim is willing to have that idea that things should be logical.
Yeah.
That idea will be changed by the path itself.
Right, and that's the thing, is it's not a metaphor to say we are changed by the path itself. And
not at all.
That's obvious. Every step we take through life changes us unavoidably, but I think there's this thing of insisting on being on a path of some kind, and it doesn't have to be geographical. Although I have to say, as someone who's pretty passionate about travel and I've been privileged enough to do a lot of it, I do feel like going somewhere different really accelerates a lot of transformation. But not everyone can do
really
that, and
does.
it's not the only path there is. So, there's all kinds of internal pathways itself, but I think it's all about willingness and attitude, and it's like, here I am, I'm on this path and I'm willing to be changed by it. I'm not looking to hold some crusty old self as I cross border after border.
And you can do that just by going a different way to work one day. There are ways that you can experience that newness, that shock, that remaking. But let's sum it up. Where does our current dominant culture stand on this whole complex of dynamics and factors? What is the culture telling us?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think for regular listeners, I think this is going to be fairly
redundant.
No, not redundant, but I mean, I think it's always good to sort of, because some of these cultural messages are so invisible to us, it's always good to go over them again. But insofar as what this random idea that we've got about let's live as pilgrims, the culture is have a clear destination, obviously, and then when you reach it, put your stake in it, claim it, it's yours, it belongs to you.
Plant a flag. This is ours. We have a flag. Eddie Izzard's brilliant line.
Yes. And then you've got your thing. You've got your flag. You own everything that is on the land, denoted by the flag. Do you have a flag? You exploit those things, much as I do my cows on my farm. If I can get to them.
The people.
Sorry?
You exploit the things and you exploit the people. You exploit everything.
I personally only exploit the cows, but, so you're using you in the general sense.
You're calling that extra farmhand and non-exploitive experience. You cloned yourself, made that man hack through the scarecrows, and then you X'd him.
No, how did he's just sleeping.
Oh, okay.
It's fine.
Proceed.
So...
He went to a farm upstate. It's literally true.
Okay. Yeah. Exploit everything that's on that land, start accruing shit, and then die. I mean, right? That's the story of the
prevent
culture.
dying as long as possible. Gather your shit. Gather more and more and more. And then have your head frozen so you will never die.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. We think of this, it's the water we swim in. It's so familiar. It's like breathing. It doesn't... We don't have to think it through, but it's not normal. It's not. There are more people holding this perspective than have ever existed before because we're such a huge population. But if you look at all the different cultures in the past, put them on an equal, what does this culture believe? What does this culture believe? The evidence suggests that only a minority of cultures have ever believed this. One of my favorite books is The Dawn of Everything by David Wengrow and David Graeber.
The Davids.
Brilliant. The Davids, I call them. And it's a brilliant scholarly look at why are we so fucked up as a culture? Why are we killing everything and destroying people and the earth? And interestingly, they kind of trace it to the dawn of modern culture in the Roman, the imperial Roman culture's tradition of something called the paterfamilias. The male head of a property owned everything and everyone on it, had family, animals, slaves, enslaved people, and he owned it all the stuff, all the people.
Right.
And he would punish and hurt them, but they had to call it love. And this weird contortion of combining I own you, I will hurt you with I love you did not exist in the other cultures that the Davids looked at. But they passed it down very effectively because it's an aggressive model that is easily perpetuated by the strong, the vengeful, and the greedy.
I think I need you to say that say that again. So it's the first time that a family that family structure had this I love you, therefore I hurt you dynamic.
Yeah.
Is that
there's
what you
one
mean?
individual male who owns everyone.
Right.
And his will must be imposed and followed and obeyed. And he will beat or kill or punish whomever violates his desires. And it's because he does this because he loves them. Like the Crusaders, we torture you.
This hurts me more than it
the
hurts
Inquisition. Yeah, sorry, this is going on too long, but we are going to torture you to death on the rack because of the love of Jesus. Like they combined the idea that you are loved with the idea that you are owned and you are controlled and you are hurt. And this fundamentally messed up the nature inside the human, which says, like a lot of the indigenous American cultures who were looking at the early, white settlers, their cultures would say, like, the Davids find documents that said we would never hurt a child. Sure, we go to war on other tribes, but you hurt your children? Like you hit your own children? They were like, what? And who says one dude gets to make the rules for a certain group of people? What? How does that even make sense? What about the other people? Like, it was not intuitive to most cultures. This is a virus that is, or maybe a birth defect or something that got started in the gene pool back then, or the meme pool, and spread because violence and ownership became really, really convenient ways of seeing our mission in life instead of the pilgrimage. Message.
Yeah, and so I guess like the key thing here is ownership, really, isn't it? Because it's sort of like part of the shift that we're going through. We will, hopefully be owning quote unquote land,
right?
But the way that we will be viewing it is much more through a lens of like stewardship than conquering or
absolutely
owning, and so I can really see how again, like we always sort of find these cultural messages, they're insidious, man, and you can't see them until you see them, and then you have to keep reminding yourself.
Yeah. When I bought that ranch in California, I felt overwhelmingly compelled to go do that, which is what we're feeling now about moving somewhere else. But it became a mythic thing among my friends and everything. Like I had seen it before I bought it. It was magical. The whole place was very magical.
Yeah.
And so there I was, and I remember walking out onto the land and thinking, I'll tell it that I own it and I'll be good to it. And I couldn't get the words out. I didn't own that. And so there was a herd of deer going past me. And I said, hey kids, humans believe that I own this place, so we can use that to help keep you safe. But I could not. It was obvious to me I did not own that land. Nothing on it was mine. I was one of the pilgrims on the soil, and so were the deer, and so were the plants, and so was the soil itself. Everything was on a journey to something higher and more beautiful and better, but no destination was involved. Everything was moving. Everything was fluid. So when I left and people were like, but that was your place, I was like, yes, and now it isn't. The culture said it was. I didn't believe that. And now the culture says it was, and I have to say sorry. That's not my experience.
Yeah. Yeah, it's that willingness to be led.
Yeah.
It's funny. So for me, like I've always felt like within the culture, my pilgrim impulses have always kind of felt like personal failings to me, and attempting to do the cultural things has always been a pretty good recipe to make me really, really unhappy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I've seen you do that. Get on a plane and say, no, it's going the wrong direction, and then get on another plane and come straight back. Oh, my goodness. How do we come to our senses then, Ro? As we're mired in this cultural matrix. How do we get back to our nature?
Let's talk about it in just a sec. So, to come to our senses, we're going to look at what this kind of pilgrim idea, what living as a pilgrim, what that means to us, right? So let's kick it off, Marty, with...
First of all, I think it's much more natural to consider ourselves and our lives processes rather than fixed positions of any kind. I mean, if you try to say, no, I'm not a pilgrim, I stay where I am and I don't let anything shift in any way, you are defying entropy. Like everything's always changing. That is like the one thing we know for sure. So letting go of, I am on this place and I am this person and that is what I'm going to hang on to. Volunteering that worldview and saying everything is in process, nothing is certain. And not only is the journey itself the point, not the arrival, but the becoming something different is the point. Not even the journey is the point. How it changes you, changed by the path itself, is the point. And your body knows that. And it will take you in the right rhythms. It will give you energy when you're going towards something you're meant to experience. It will pull back. Like settling into the body and trusting its wisdom will take you on the pilgrimage you're meant to follow.
Yeah, that we forget that there's this wisdom, and we get so caught up in the culture of productivity and schedules and everything. But I think the other thing that I love about this is the idea of, our psyches evolve through narrative and challenge and reflection and that are aspects of narrative. And like, if you think about it, a walk, literal or metaphorical, a walk is the same as a narrative. Like that, what could be more of a narrative than someone putting one foot in front of another and being changed by the path itself?
Yeah. Oh, my goodness. My favorite brilliant philosopher and neuroscientist, Ian McGilchrist, says that the pattern of syntax in language in the brain matches the cadence of movements in a running animal.
Perfect. That is just a perfect fact.
What a fabulous thing that is to say. And our nervous systems aren't built to carry all these different things and places and positions that we think we are. If you try to plant a flag everywhere, it's like trying to have 500 tabs open and active on your computer. If you abandon all fixed points and give yourself to the path, then you just flow with it. If you're trying constantly to hold them, keep them, make them yours, the way we take pictures of everything with our phones, which I love, by the way, but we're trying to grab it and hold it. And there are so many photos on my phone that I can't even look at them all. And in the blizzard of trying to fixed points, I reject the process of the pilgrimage. I stop letting go.
Oh,
I stop being willing to be led.
Yeah, and remembering that being willing to be led is listening to signals that might not be trusted or accepted by the culture. Okay, so we choose to accept, and if you want to join us on your own little pilgrim quest, like we invite you to believe the following, which can be a little bit of a mind fuck at first, but like, what if? Let's just say, what if?
What if?
Everything is alive and communicating in some way. And so your willingness to be led happens in the context of everything is alive and communicating.
The biggest shock for me was when I suddenly one day switched perceiving everything as being inert to everything, including space, is alive. When suddenly, and it did not come as don't hold it as gospel. I don't have to believe it. It just hit me, and it like smashed open the doors of some gorgeous cathedral to think space itself is alive and communicating with me. I can't be lost if space loves me. So, and then everything that is made of matter too is responsive. And as you walk a pilgrim path, you see it. You have weird interactions with animals and with objects and with overheard words and dreams. Yes, like the dream that you got the Wordle in too.
Oh my God, the Wordle is alive and communicating with me.
But I mean, in all seriousness, since we decided, we sort of hunkered in our little house in Pennsylvania. We had our places in New York and stuff. And then we said, no, we have to go and grow gardens somewhere. And it's such an irrational thing to do. People are like, why? We're like, 'cause.
Why do you always have to ask us that?
Yeah, why?
Jesus,
We don't want to tell you.
We don't know. You tell me why.
What happens is it makes you so raw and open, and then things start to happen that are so far beyond coincidental, and there are tons of them.
Yeah.
I mean, there's far too many magic stories for us to go into right here, but they come thick and fast when you're in the liminal pilgrim place. The whole pilgrimage is liminal, and so you get to make a meaning out of that you can make it your culture and say, a miracle happened, therefore I will start my own cult or whatever, and I own you all and you will give me your money and I will punish you and it's love. I mean, it just forms itself again around the magic so fast. So you have to give up all certainty as you make a sacred meaning out of the experiences you have. You exchange certainty for wonder. And there's grief and there's danger and there's alarm, but there is this awe that you can experience and an overwhelming beneficence to everything around you and everything you're doing when you least expect it. And you kind of you have to throw it all away and jump off a cliff a few times before you start to see how clear that is. It's like you have to look through the telescope before you see the details of Jupiter's moons or whatever.
Right. No, it's funny because I've had this interesting sort of experience with, we've had this place in New York that we bought when I finally cut my tether to Australia and sold my house that I'd had in Australia. And so it became, and talk about meaning making, right? In my mind, I made this little apartment in Gramercy be my new little hidey hole or whatever.
Your destination.
Yes. Yeah, that's right. I made it my destination. And, so the last few weeks I've had such a strange, paradoxical, surreal sort of experience of packing up that apartment and the opposite feelings of this is the right thing to do and this is breaking my heart. And I love it here and it's time to go. And it is so countercultural to be leaving something you love for no very solid, culturally explicable reason, but also to just be in those paradoxical feelings of heartbreak and acceptance at the same time. And I feel like there's a part of that process where you're like in feeling the past, the future, and the present all in one moment is part of that paradoxical thing that we're trying to hold at the moment. And I wonder when you're in movement, however you define that movement, if time becomes less fixed as well. You know how a walk is like a narrative or whatever. It's sort of like there's I don't know. There's something about time changes once you step into this pilgrim mentality.
I may get this wrong, but it's worth just blurting out because I actually think I have a fair grip on this. There are two words for time in Greek, and one is chronos and one is kairos. And chronos is clock time. It's what marches ahead. But kairos is soul time. And it moves in these bursts of becoming and realizing and transformation. And time is different in that it doesn't go in an orderly way, the way chronological time goes. It bends and folds and goes back on itself and jumps forward. And, the ancient Greeks said that, and then all the way into the 20th century. And then finally, Einstein figured out that time is a much more malleable and bendable and strange thing than we ever knew. Most of us don't experience it that way, but when you start pilgriming, you do.
Yeah, and so there's all these things that feel like they're just physics that start to warp and change. And so, you think of time, okay. Then there's this, like the pain of letting go of something sort of comes up as something, a sacred unburdening of the pilgrim on the path.
Yeah. And when that happens, as you just drop all these identities, every like sacred object that you owned in your little paterfamilias way, as you let go of those cultural definitions of attachment, you come home, you unite. All the parts of you that let go are united into a self that is your true nature.
Oh, yeah.
And when you become that, I said, the journey of the fool becomes the journey of the wise, And the last place he gets to is he becomes everything. Wow. It's the world. And at that point, he's not moving by himself deliberately as a human. He is moved as nature, in nature. Nothing separate. And occasionally, the body will get up and go do things, but it's not an individual human consciousness doing it. It's the universe doing it in one perspective of one small body. That is the subjective experience that he will have.
And what a phenomenal way of imagining the ways that the journey can change us, like in terms of that kind of spiritual reunification or something, that's the way that we're being changed by our journey, ideally. And, for us, I think, we're definitely being changed by this particular phase of the journey that we're on, right? Our family, like
big time,
becoming like this idea of becoming a steward of land, a community builder, like a homesteader, these kinds of ideas, new creativity outlets. And I guess like the reframe for me is that if we accept all these perspectives that we've just been talking about, the journey begins writing the story. You're not writing the story of your journey. The journey is writing your story.
The story of you.
Yeah.
Oh, that reminds me of John O'Donoghue's poem. I think it's called For the Traveler, and part of it goes, a journey can become a sacred thing. Make sure before you go to take the time to bless your going forth, to free your heart of ballast, so that the compass of your soul might direct you toward the territories of spirit, where you will discover more of your hidden life and the urgencies that deserve to claim you.
Wow. The urgencies that deserve to claim you. That's so freaking transgressive to the culture.
Thank you, John O'Donoghue.
Thank you, John O'Donoghue. Wow. Oof. We talk about him a lot in Wilder, in our online community. John O'Donoghue and his beautiful words come up quite a lot. So to the Kahoot, I guess, Marty, our beautiful Bewildered listeners, here's the invitation, or the question is like, are you willing to take a step towards the territories of spirit where you'll discover more of your hidden life, as he put it?
Yeah, and the urgencies that deserve to claim you.
Yeah.
Yeah, so consider this an invitation, not from us, but from your own journey. We are a way station or somebody you see going by as you go on the journey. So we're part of your journey saying, why not take a chance and jump off a cliff into the guidance of your true nature?
Yeah.
Because that is how we stay wild.
We hope you're enjoying Bewildered. If you're in the USA and want to be notified when a new episode comes out, text the word WILD to 570-873-0144. We're also on Instagram. Our handle is Bewildered Podcast. You can follow us to get updates, hear funny snippets and outtakes, and chat with other fans of the show. Bewildered is produced by Scott Forster with support from the brilliant team at MBI. And remember, if you're having fun, please rate and review, and stay wild.